What's up, Met fans? Welcome back. Talking Mets at Rob. How's everybody doing? Before I get started, talk about the latest news regarding Kris Bryant and the possible trade to the New York Mets and exactly what everybody is saying around the league according to many sources. Don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, hit on that subscribe button, everybody. All right, guys. So what exactly is going on with Kris Bryant, the Chicago Cubs, the New York Mets, and all the rumors swirling around and all the latest news about Kris Bryant? There's been a lot of sources that's been saying a lot of things, a lot of information that we have to pull up and figure out exactly what's going on. So me and you can get the latest information and find out exactly what's going on and how close is this Kris Bryant trade to happening with the New York Mets. So firstly, we're going to look at Ken Rosenthal. He posted on Twitter, the Cubs already have shifted into sell mode, a lot of sources has said. An inside look at the dynamics they will face at the deadline. Ever since their 10 and 11 game losing streak, they completely fell out of the race. They're not going anywhere. The team knows it. The organization knows it. The owner, the GM, they all know it. So they need to get all the assets they can for all the possible free agents that are coming up, such as Kris Bryant, that we're going to focus on right here in this video. That's one of the things that Ken Rosenthal said. Then, when you look a little further, there's been a couple of tweets from Michael Mayer that says, Cubs scout in St. Lucie Mets heavily right now. Utility man Jalen Palmer and right-hander starter JT Ginn as the two names that possibly could go in a Kris Bryant trade and possibly are what the scouts are looking at for a possible trade for Kris Bryant. And they are focusing in on these type of guys. So they're looking at young, controllable assets that are in the lower levels of the minor league that can help them a couple of years down the road. And then you see another tweet with Joe DeMaio. A Cub scout was recently spotted at a low-A affiliate of the Mets. Team so heavily linked to Bryant last winter that he received a welcome to the Mets text message from an unidentified Connecticut phone number. So it's not just one tweet, it's not just one source, it's multiple sources that are saying that they saw Cub scouts or they heard from organizational people or other sources that they have that Cub scouts are at St. Lucie in the low-A affiliate of the New York Mets talking about or looking at players such as JT Ginn and Jalen Palmer. Obviously, they're probably looking at more, but it seemed like they were focusing in on these two players. And that is interesting to know, interesting to look at. Now, exactly what the Cubs might really want, it really does depend. Because when it does come to Kris Bryant and exactly why the Mets are so focused in on him, it's very simple. It was very simple exactly what happened during the offseason with Sandy Alderson and how much he wanted Kris Bryant and how much he dislikes J.D. Davis. Once again, we come back to the same story right before the trade deadline. The Mets are interested in Kris Bryant. They do have other options, Eduardo Escobar, Josh Donaldson, maybe if you look at Eugenio Suarez, so on and so forth. But the Mets are primarily focused on Kris Bryant. There's no ifs or buts about it. But we have to realize also that this decision has already been made by the Mets front office. They want Kris Bryant. It's absolutely obvious. Now, they're not gonna want to give away a Mauricio or Alvarez. They're probably untouchable. But I think there's a lot of other people, maybe not Beatty. He's another untouchable. There's a lot of guys that the Mets are probably willing to take and get rid of and put in this package to get Kris Bryant because I really think they want Kris Bryant. And when it comes to Kris Bryant, maybe 5 years ago or even 2 years ago when the Wilpons were the owners, I wouldn't think this would be a good trade. Only because there'd be no damn chance that the Wilpons would sign Kris Bryant after they bring him in. But with Cohen right in the ship and is the owner of this team now, there is a possibility that the New York Mets could sign Kris Bryant because not only Kris Bryant can play third base, he can play the outfield. He can play first base. He's very versatile. And if you know anything about Sandy Alderson and the moves that he made in the offseason, he loves to have players that are versatile. He brought in a lot of guys that can play multiple positions, and that's exactly what Kris Bryant is. He is basically a Sandy Alderson special. Kris Bryant is wrapped up in a bow for Sandy Alderson. That's exactly what you see here. There is no doubt about it that the Mets, I guarantee you there's going to be a blockbuster, and I'm about 90% sure it's going to be Kris Bryant. There's a lot of moving parts. Who knows what's going to be in the deal? Is Kris Bryant going to come along with Kyle Hendricks or maybe a Craig Kimbrell? There's a lot of different decisions that they would have to make because I don't think Kris Bryant is going to be the only one in that deal. So not only is the Cub Scouts looking at Jalen Palmer and JT Ginn, they might have to throw another piece in there. It's maybe a bullpen arm that the Mets are not really using that the Cubs can maybe save some money on the Kimbrel contract. There might be a lot of options, but at the end of the day, the price for Kris Bryant in the offseason was a lot more than it is now because according to sources, the Cubs asked for Alvarez, they asked for Mauricio, they asked for players like that, but with only a half a season left, it is very possible that the Cubs are asking for a lot less for Kris Bryant and possibly more, like I said, a Hendricks or a Kimbrel, and the Mets are willing to do that. And I would not be surprised if the one big deal that the Mets make is Kris Bryant. And I would not be surprised if the Mets do not sign Michael Conforto and put their money and put their chips all in on Kris Bryant. Now, Kris Bryant and Michael Conforto are around the same age, but track record shows Kris Bryant has a lot more seasons where he's very good the entire year. He doesn't have the streakiness of Michael Conforto with one bad year, one good year, one bad year, one good year. So with Kris Bryant, the Mets have a lot more opportunity and probably are willing to go $200+ million on Kris Bryant, where they're not willing to go $200+ million with Michael Conforto. So it is interesting to look at. I think if the Mets get Kris Bryant, I think they're going to do everything they can to sign Kris Bryant and have a Michael Conforto leave this team. Now, obviously, Michael Conforto is a homegrown talent. Met fans love him, but there is no denying the numbers. No denying the back of the baseball cards on both of these players. Michael Conforto is not as good as Kris Bryant. Kris Bryant, if he needed to play right field every day, he can play right field every day. If you look at all of his positions he played, it's very split up. It's mostly third, it's mostly right field, mostly left field. So he can play 130 games in one position if you really need him to. So Kris Bryant has so many options to play different positions that I think the Mets are willing to give $200+ million to a guy like Kris Bryant rather than Michael Conforto. It might make a lot of Met fans mad, but at the end of the day, when you look at the back of the baseball cards, Kris Bryant has a lot more really good seasons, solid seasons, and he has the pedigree of winning the World Series. He has postseason experience. Michael Conforto has 2015 and a little bit of 2016. In my opinion, I think the Mets, if they trade for Kris Bryant, is a telltale sign that they probably won't do everything they can to sign Michael Conforto because I think their focus will be on signing Kris Bryant long term. I know that is a big question mark, but at the end of the day, when you look at the scouts and what the Cubs are talking about and looking at, and Jalen Palmer and JT Ginn, if that's what it takes only to get Kris Bryant, I am pushing that trade button right away. You cannot say no to that trade. Now, if you look at my previous videos a couple of months ago, I did a video about JT Ginn. I really like him. He is coming back from Tommy John surgery. He was throwing 96+ in a couple of outings that he had this year. But at the end of the day, when you can get an all-star talent, a superstar in Kris Bryant, you make that trade. Now, obviously, like I said before, Kimbrel, Hendricks could be a part of the deal. So that's going to add a couple more players to that mix. But at the end of the day, guys, how close is this trade to happening? I think because the Mets and the Cubs talk so much in the offseason about possible trade scenarios and packages, I already think the names are already, for the most part, figured out. It's just the small details that have to get figured out. And I do think the New York Mets are going to make a blockbuster trade for Kris Bryant in the coming weeks. There is no doubt about it. I think the Mets can give exactly what the Cubs want. And at the end of the day, when the price is not as much, I do think the Mets are in the prime position to take on a contract like a Hendricks or a Kimbrel to lessen the blow when it comes to prospects that have to go to the Cubs. And the Mets have the money to take on those contracts and possibly sign Kris Bryant. So that is the latest when it comes to the Kris Bryant possible trade to the New York Mets and how close it is. It is very close to happening, guys. You can just check Twitter. You can check all the sources. You can check everything you need to check. Everybody is just talking about it too much. When there's smoke, there is fire, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, hit on that subscribe button, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment, guys. Do you think this trade is close to happening? Do you think the Mets can give Jalen Palmer and JT Ginn will be enough to get Kris Bryant? Because at the end of the day, there's only a half a year left, and Kris Bryant is a rental at the moment. I truly think this trade is going to happen very soon. I think it's going to happen even before the trade deadline, because I think the Mets and the Cubs have been talking for so long that packages and players already have been named. Just have to sort out the small details, who is exactly going in the package for both teams. That is exactly why I made this video, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, guys, hit on that subscribe button, hit on that like button. Let me know in the comments what exactly you think about how close is this trade to actually happening. As always, Mets fans, let's go Mets. Have a good day, everybody.